was for the benefit of the Human Relations Conference, one of the senator's pet projects. She was his chief organizer. Wandering back to the patio, she stood sipping her glass of wine, surrounded by people whose evident curiosity about the senator's assistant, two people actually referred to her that way, made her irritable and cross. She wasn't there 5 minutes before she found herself desiring with adolescent fervor to disappear into the rooms of the house. She kept forcing a smile, listening politely to what was said to her. The guests, many of them local celebrities, were talking about the upcoming conference and about politics, the new president's withdrawal from the Kyoto Protocol on global warming. It was a signal, someone said, about where things were headed with the Republicans back in power. Others speculated about all that. Someone else remarked on the perfect weather, trying to change the subject. To Natasha, it all began to seem depressingly automatic, like the chatter of birds on a shoreline. Species noise. The weather was indeed fine, clear and cool. Breezes stirring like whispered secrets in the leaves of the oaks bordering the property, the new leaves gold daubed with sun, nearly translucent. The gravel and flagstone walks skirting the edge of the bluff afforded a lovely view of the dark green river far below, with its ranks of sculling boats from Georgetown. The air was flower-scented. Norland approached through the confusion of others, grasping the upper arm of a man who seemed reluctant to be handled in that way. She saw that the man wore a clerical collar. "Natasha," Norland said, "you grew up in Memphis." The senator had a gift for tautology. She nodded and smiled at him. "I'd like you to meet Father Michael Faulk, pastor of Grace Episcopal Church in Memphis, Tennessee." Father Faulk was tall, solid-looking, bulky through the shoulders. She saw his dark brown eyes and, when they shook hands, felt the roughness of his palm. "Actually, I grew up in Collierville," she said to him. "Collierville? I don't get out that way much." "In Memphis, people decide not to go somewhere if it's more than 5 minutes away. I had Memphis friends who would talk about Collierville as if it was Knoxville, 400 miles down the road instead of 15. "You say you had Memphis friends?" His black hair was receding. He looked to be in his late 40s or early 50s. She said, "Former friends, yes." "I won't ask." "They all moved to other cities," she said in the tone of someone speculating. "I'm still not asking." They talked a little about Graceland and other attractions. It was the usual informal kindness of social occasions. She did not feel up to it. "I've never really thought about the distance to Collierville," he went on. "Is it 15 miles? 15 miles from Beale Street to where I lived growing up." She turned to acknowledge the greeting of a co-worker, Janice Lane, who was the senator's press secretary. Father Faulk moved off, having been pulled in another direction by one of the donors to the event, and perhaps having sensed her reluctance to chat. Janice frowned slightly. Who's the one in the pretty collar?" That was Janice, boy-crazy by her own account, and probably, secretly, nothing of the kind. Natasha had an indulgent sense of knowing affection for her. "I've just been introduced. You don't know him? He does look a little familiar, and he's hot. And Episcopal. I already got that much. And so if he's single, he's fair game. I'll find out for us." "Go, girl," Natasha said automatically. She was already beginning to forget him. But they got seated next to each other at the dinner, and he turned a charmingly sidelong smile her way, talking about how he could never get used to the grandeur of places such as this, with its atrium and its wide entrances and the original Rembrandt on the wall in the next room. He had been raised in Biloxi, in a decidedly middle-class environment, though his mother, just after he turned 17, was the recipient of a large inheritance from a great-uncle who had made a lot of money building houses. "Most of my boyhood," he said.